Hello and welcome to On the Prowl. I'm your host, Austin Verde, and with me today is the coach of the Hahnville Tigers, Coach Nick Saltaformaggio. Thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
Thank you, Austin.
Coming up on today's show, Coach Salt will break down last week's game against the East St. John Wildcats, and we'll get Coach to look ahead to this Friday's game against the Central Lafourche Trojans. And finally, we'll take a look back at the Destrehan versus Hahnville volleyball game and hear from the victorious Hahnville Lady Tigers. Great game, Coach. At 5-2 now in the middle of district play, do you believe you have the momentum on your side?
I think so, buddy. We've been really playing good football since the second half of the Destrehan game. And, even though we didn't win that game, it kind of helped us realize that we could be a pretty good football team. And then, the next week against St. Thomas More, the way that kind of unfolded for us to get that win the way we did has just given us a tremendous amount of momentum. That coupled with the fact that, at least the last 2 years at Hahnville for us, this is where we've kind of made a push, a late playoff push. So right now it's about, continuing to win games and hopefully get a pretty good playoff seeding.
You had a kind of rough start last Friday, but it seemed to pull together near the end of the first half. What were the key turning points in this game?
Well, a couple of things happened to us. One, we're still not responding very well, a sudden change out on the football field, and we went out early, opening kickoff, and we actually had a 3-and-out situation, but we failed to execute on a fake punt against us, and East St. John picked up the first down on their fake punt, and we just were really, really flat after that, and we get the ball, we go back out, and we have a ball go right through a receiver's hands. Austin made a great throw, but it just went right through our receiver's hands and into the hands of a defensive back from East St. John. He returned it for a touchdown. And so now we were down 13-0 early on, but it was never any kind of sign of panic. We knew what we were able to do and what we were capable of doing, and it just kind of unfolded that way after that.
Thanks, Coach. Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at the first half highlights.
This is early in the first quarter here, East St. John. East St. John actually played two quarterbacks against us. Khalil Mason, who had just a great night for us and has really solidified our secondary, came in and did a good job. We got a blitz in there by Elijah Brent and forced the quarterback to get off of his mark and force an errant throw. Like I said, this was after an interception return, and Anthony gets the kickoff and gives us great field position down the field. But we weren't able to capitalize on it. We weren't able to get in and score. Again, a guy that's just been running the ball like a champion for us the last couple of weeks, Devontae Clark, closing in on 1,000 yards rushing for us. Then we throw a screen to him. He makes a guy miss. Makes another guy miss, gets the ball down to the plus 15-yard line. But like I said, we weren't able to capitalize. Khalil making a bad play on a deep ball, but came back later in the game and actually had a pick six for us. And then we kind of get it going again. Austin finds a sophomore out there, Jaquan Jackson, who's developing into a real good receiver for us. And we throw a slip to Anthony, who constantly does his thing on Friday night. We were able to get down and score and trap them down deep in their own territory, playing a good third down defense, And we almost get a turnover there. Lloyd Jones strips the ball, but we don't get it, force him to punt. And then this is kind of where we just take over. Anthony gets a ball on a speed sweep and makes a lot of yards going sideways, but is able to pick up a first down, and we get right back in, run one back power with Devontae Clark, who had well over 100 yards Friday night. And then Anthony coming in on counter, following Cade Miguez in there, and we get the touchdown, and we get the PAT right after, and now we have a 14-13 lead. Our defense played particularly well the entire night. We got a lot of punts, and we're explosive in our punt return game. Michael Gray gets a great return off of a punt. We get down to the 12-yard line, and we don't score. We actually don't get any points out of that great field position. But again, our defense stepped up. They put their running quarterback in there, Darrensburg, and we kind of knew when he was in there it was going to be more of a run game. We were able to stop it, get the ball back to our offensive guys who have been really playing well for us. We drive down, we get a score late in the first half. As you can see it coming up here. Anthony making a guy miss and gets out of bounds, stops the clock for us with smart football. So we're down with 30 seconds left in the half, and then Austin makes a great play, pivots around here and squeezes it into the end zone. and we were able to kick the PAT to take the lead at halftime, 14-13.
How did Austin Perrin's 5-yard run give your team a spark taking the lead right before halftime?
Well, Austin, sometimes you get, well, not sometimes, you get frustrated. We had driven down, like you saw, we were on the 12-yard line, we didn't score. We were on the 17-yard line, we didn't score. We were on the 20-yard line, their 20, their 17, their 12, and never scored in any of those possessions. So we were getting a little frustrated, and you don't want that kind of to build up, and all of a sudden you're thinking, man, this might be one of those nights when it shouldn't be. And then right before half, we were able to stop them, get a punt, get a nice return, make a nice play on a pass to Anthony, and we get down where we get a little nice sprint pass, and Austin makes a great play to score. And now you're up a point at halftime, and you're kind of feeling a little bit better about yourself because we were playing really good defense.
Was the interception shortly after Gray's punt return a hit on the team's morale?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been. You know, it's the first time in a while that I've coached on a football team where we felt the loss of a player. And when Waylon LeBlanc last week, he broke his collarbone. Well, actually 2 weeks ago, he broke his collarbone. And we were having to start some sophomores out at receiver now. And so those guys are going to get better as the season goes on, and they have to because Austin likes to throw the ball, and we want him throwing the ball. But I think our guys knew in the back of their minds we were playing good defense. You know, we were just going to kind of let the game settle down. And we were going to get the second half kickoff, coming our way. So we felt like we were in good shape.
Darrensburg did not start the game due to an injured shoulder. Do you think this was a defensive advantage for you?
He's a good football player. He's a big guy that likes to run the ball. And I tell you, hats off to him because there's a lot of kids who would have a torn labrum that wouldn't play. They opt out. And he keeps battling through and grinding through it. And, one of the things about football that really makes it unique is, if you're able to start as a freshman, and not many people start as a freshman, certainly not in 5A football and certainly not in the district we play in. But if you're fortunate enough to start as a freshman, you're only guaranteed 40 games. That's it. I mean, if you're a baseball player or a basketball player, you play that many games in one season. So a guy like Darrensburg, who's a senior, who's, he's down to his last 3 games now, unless they're fortunate enough to win him and find a spot in the playoffs. I think you're just looking at the end of your career and something you truly love and truly work hard to be a part of, and he doesn't want to give that up yet. So, hats off to him. But, for us, it wasn't any advantage offensively or offensively for them or defensively for us. I mean, they have good players all over the place. They have tremendous skill kids. So we were more worried about the perimeter guys than we were quarterback.
What did you do to get your team to come back in the second half?
I told them they just need to start playing Hahnville football. The way we've played football the second half of the season since I've been at Hahnville has been particularly good. And also the way we've been playing the last maybe 10 to 12 quarters of football has been very, very good. So, I told them don't get confident, stay confident, don't get cocky, and stop looking at, well, this is a 2-4 football team and we're a 4-2 football team at that time. Play the game, play the last, 2 quarters of this football game like your life depends on it. And that's really all we said. And those guys went out, our guys went out and really played very, very well.
Let's take a look at the second half highlights.
East St. John we got a short punt. We were 3 and outed. We got a short punt. East St. John had some momentum go their way and got down the field. But we did a nice job of getting a quarterback sack on 4th down and then come right back and get Devontae Clark on a nice long run to get us out from our own goal line. He's really a special talent, a very talented running back for us. And we go in and we get a pick by William Brown, who's one of the really best kids I've ever been around in my life. Great student, just an excellent, excellent kid. And that was good for him. It was nice to see him make a big highlight tape right there. We were able to go in now and get the touchdown, get the PAT. Now we're up a couple of scores. And when you get that kind of that comfort zone, like everything's going to go well for you, and that's how we started playing defensive football. Our kids really got after him. There's Trayvon Chambers, who had a great night for us, had 3 sacks on the night, just really dominated inside. Again, Devontae making a nice cut in the hole. A very powerful guy, very strong guy in the weight room. and he's making some yards after contact, and then we get the ball to Anthony, who's exceptionally fast and powerful, and he finishes the run strongly and gets us back down, and we get Devontae on the edge, and he gets another touchdown. Now we're up 3 scores, and we're kind of feeling pretty good. We're starting to get some backup guys in the game, playing a bunch of different guys. Again, did a nice job pressuring quarterback, get him off his spot, and he throws it to Dylan Dejeen, who gets a nice interception, returns it down to the 20-yard line. We get in and get a score on that, and kind of now take control, and Khalil Mason comes up and gets a defensive score for us on a pick 6, and we get the ball back late in the game, and Anthony's going to break a nice run and get us down close to scoring territory. And it's funny, our kids, they're going to keep track of what our opponents are doing and what the scores are as they're playing these teams late in the year. And, we knew the week before the score with Destrehan and East St. John, so our guys were like, hey, let's see if we can get one more. And we were able to get one more and wound up winning at 41-20.
Do you feel your team played well in all phases of the game in the second half?
Yeah, absolutely. Even our young guys came in. They gave up a late score in the game when we had our young guys in the game, but they executed really well. I mean, when you're able to play a lot of guys during the course of the season, it bodes well for your future. So I felt like even though we gave up that touchdown late, our young kids went out and played particularly well, and we were able to rest our older guys because, hopefully we're playing for about 7 or 8 more weeks.
Clark's touchdown plunge put your team ahead 21-13. Did you feel your team was starting to hit on all cylinders at this point of the game?
Yeah, I thought momentum had swung to our side, and I thought we were really doing a nice job calling the game offensively and defensively. Like I said, we were struggling to throw the ball a little bit, kind of find that steady hand throwing the ball. East St. John did a very good job taking Anthony out of the game and taking Jamel Bird out of the game and making us get the ball to our third receiver. So I thought Coach Ricard and Coach Stroud defensively kind of got in a good niche and realized what we needed to do to call the game to give us the greatest opportunity to win.
You stated in the Herald Guide that your team was driving up and down the field but having trouble coming away with points early in the game. What made the difference in the second half?
I just think we started running a little bit more power football. Sometimes you got all those weapons that we're fortunate enough to have, and you try to figure out how to get every one of them the ball. And late in the first half, we figured out, our best 2 plays right now are probably going to be inside-outside runs, either counter or inside zone. And that's just kind of what we stuck to, and it got us where we needed to be as far as finishing drives were concerned.
Thanks, Coach. Coming up next, we'll get Coach to look ahead to this week's game against Central Lafourche Trojans. Then we'll take a look at the first battle on the river, Hahnville versus Destrehan volleyball game report. We'll be right back. Welcome back to On the Prowl. I'm your host, Austin Verde. Last week, the Hahnville and Destrehan volleyball teams took to the court in their first round of Battle on the River volleyball. Here we have the report. The Hahnville Lady Tigers met their Parish rivals on the court for the first time this year and came away with a very emotional win.
Tonight, our team's strength, we had energy the whole time. This is a big game for us. It's a rivalry. We came out knowing it was going to be a tough win. And we just fought for it, and we knew our energy was going to carry us to the end, whether we had errors or not, that we had to fight and had to have energy to carry us over.
Hahnville lost their first set, but fought back to take the next 3 for the win.
Hahnville gets the kill. Number 5, Kylie Rue with the kill.
I feel like in the first game was obviously a little rough, but then I feel like my team was able to fight back and eventually get our victory today, which felt good. It's good to be able to come back from such a tough start.
Our defense wasn't as strong in the first game, but as we started to pick that up, we started to see that our game got a little bit faster, and that's what carried over in each game. When we play faster, we play better.
It was a bit of a struggle for us. I didn't think we had a very consistent game. To be honest, we're coming off a really big win yesterday at HL Bourgeois, and I thought we came out a little bit flat. But I was very pleased that we kind of got ourselves in check and kept fighting and then got the job done.
Staying in the play every single ball. Our motto this year is every ball matters. So just moving on to the next point, no matter what happened in the previous one, because the previous one doesn't matter anymore. It's just what's next.
The Lady Tigers are currently sitting at the top of the district standings and hope to finish out their year strong as they head into the playoffs.
We're really, really striving for a district win this year. We want to be district champs. And so every game we just go out and we're super hungry and we know that we have to fight, and no matter what happens, we just have to keep pushing through. We work too hard during the summer and this whole season to just let district champs slip away from us this year.
The Lady Tigers meet up again with their Cross River rivals next Tuesday in the second Battle on the River matchup. Reporting for On the Prowl, I'm Austin Verde.
Nice save.
What can you do to prepare for Central Lafourche?
It's a very different opponent than we played this past week. East St. John, tremendous speed, tremendous athleticism, and Central Lafourche is going to come in with some big, wide bodies. They got a couple of 300-pound defensive linemen. Their offensive line is always pretty stout. Maybe not with the speed that East St. John had, but they're going to be excellently prepared. Coach Keith Menard does a great job preparing those guys. And again, I think one of the things that helps us right now, Austin, is every team we're playing is pretty much in the same situation we're in. They have to keep winning to get a good seed in the state playoffs or to get into the state playoffs. So, you know, this week with Central Lafourche, we're in a very similar situation that we were in last week, and that we're playing a team that needs to get that win to get those points to get into state playoffs, and we're a team that needs to get the win to get those points to move up in the power rating. So really our playoffs have already started for both of us. So it should be a playoff atmosphere. And the thing about Central Lafourche is until they built the bridge, from my understanding, what the Hahnville crowd has told me, is that the Hahnville Central Lafourche game was at one time what now the Hahnville Destrehan game is. That used to be the big rivalry game. And I still think a lot of the old guard, senior citizen group, guys that have been around Hahnville football for a long time and Central Lafourche football for a long time really look forward to this game. So we're going to go out, and also it's a night we're going to honor. This is the 70th year of Hahnville football, so it's a night we're going to honor those guys. It's going to really be a nice night. It's our teacher appreciation game, so our varsity senior football players will have their teachers there in their jerseys, kind of honoring that faculty. So it's going to be a nice night, and for us, we just have to be able to get out there and get our speed on the edge. If we can get our speed on the edge, protect Austin, we should be in pretty good shape offensively, and then us defensively. Coach Menard does a great job with bunch formation, rub routes, trying to get those guys in the intermediate passing game open by picking you off a little bit. So we have to be very, very strict and honor our zones and react to the ball in the air. And then up front, because they're so big, we have to just play with low pad level, and make sure that we establish a line of scrimmage and not let them establish the line of scrimmage on us. So those are some of the obstacles in our way, but I think we'll be up to the challenge.
After having a rough start in the beginning of the season, do you think the Tigers are progressing well?
Yeah, I really do, buddy. And I don't know, if we're able to get out of this thing at 8-2, we're going to have a loss to a one-loss Riverside team who's probably going to be the number one seed in their classification, in their playoff bracket. And we're going to have a last-second three-point loss to Destrehan, who's probably going to be the number one seed in the 5A bracket. So that would be our two losses, and you never want to lose. We're always going to be about winning at Hahnville, but that's two quality opponents. And if we're that close to the number one seeds, then I think we'll have a nice playoff run, But you don't want to run into those big guys, and we're one of those big guys. We're one of those teams that people are going to be like, man, I hope Hahnville's not on our side of the bracket. But again, the higher you get in the ranking, in your power rating, the further down the line you will run into those big guys. And like right now we're 5-2. If the playoffs started today, we'd be at home against Barb, and then the next week travel to West Monroe. So that makes the road a little harder to get to the Superdome. But you're going to have to play them eventually. So line them up and let's play.
Tell us about your Booster Club meeting next Monday, Coach.
We go every Monday night, strong. It's been fun. It's been kind of small lately, but I think Monday nights are rough nights. There's too many things going on Monday nights, but it's always fun to get out there and talk Hahnville football with the Hahnville fans.
Thanks for joining us this week.
You're welcome, pal. Thank you.
And that'll do it for this week's edition of Hahnville on the Prowl. For updates and news on Press Play Productions, check out our website at presstoplay.tv. I'm your host, Austin Verde. Thanks for watching.